The people you line up with will determine your trajectory. The people you line up with, if you come into this country and all the people you are living it, or you are living with, or you are moving with, if they are just security guards, the only job they will introduce you to is that security guard job. If they're into healthcare, maybe they are CNA, or in the UK they call them HCA. They would let you believe that you can't get another job except that job. So if they are taxi drivers, they'll be looking for how to get you a medallion for you to start driving taxi. So you really have to understand from day one. You might agree with them initially for you to stabilize, but you must know where you are going. And your objective was very clear from day one. What have I come to do in this country? Did I just come to work for 2 or 3 years? Because most of us will come in here, oh, I'm going to stay for 5 years, I'll go back home. You are joking. You're going to stay for 15, 20 years, and you have not even made up your mind. So that's one thing I want you to know, that from day one, you need to understand that what your objectives are and how you are going to accomplish them.
Welcome to Cash Talk series, My Financial Missteps, where we interview immigrants like you to share their stories, the financial missteps they have done here in America, so that you can use it to catapult yourself to financial success without having to repeat all those mistakes again. My name is Christine.
And I am Vidal Ojikutu. Today we are honored and privileged to have Mr. Femi Ojikutu. He's a chartered accountant. He's also, interestingly, a lawyer. So now he's also a financial professional.
Been following this series, and I believe it's a big honor for anybody to be invited to talk here, because it kind of goes deep into the heart, things you have witnessed, experienced, and you can share with people. What happens is, once you share, it helps people. They don't have to go through 5 years or 10 years of your own mistakes. And that's where the value of this series is very important, and I would recommend it that anybody should keep watching, and not just for you because you have made mistakes, but for your family and friends. So again, Vidal and Christine, thank you for this, and I would like to appreciate you. I'm new in the US, if I'm 10 years, but I've lived in Europe, so it's diaspora, and the problems in Europe and here are similar. So I would take the two. When I arrived in Europe and when I came here, how those two dovetail into each other, so that anybody watching in Europe, anywhere in Africa, can understand it. Because some people are just coming here. They are still in their respective countries. If they watch this, they can understand how to have a good landing and how to land and keep running.
Femi, having lived in the UK, in Europe, as you say, what was your biggest financial challenge when you first arrived in the UK and subsequently here in the US? And how did you overcome that challenge?
The first bit of background I will give will depend on how you arrived here. Sometimes you arrived in this country with papers, that is, you are legal to start work from day one. And under other circumstances, maybe you are a student first, and it goes on and on. So the level and the depth of challenge you face depend on how you came in here, right? But I was lucky getting to the UK. I came on highly skilled migrant scheme into the UK. So I was armed with documents to start work on arrival, and I could come with my family. So I came with my wife and kids. And when I was coming to the US, it was while in the UK, we got an immigrant visa that they called green card to move to the US. So under those two circumstances, I had papers to come. So some people might be watching this program, they should understand the background, because sometimes they say, oh, this one doesn't have problem. Whether you had papers or not, whichever way you come into this country, you are coming to a green land, and there are lessons to be learned. I'm just giving that bit of background so that people will understand where I'm starting from. And the first big challenge was the fact that you came with a family and you are landing. If you are the only one, maybe you could see a friend where you stay for maybe a few weeks, but you are coming with a family of 4 or 5. So you have to get accommodation to start with. And on coming, you want to get accommodation, they will be asking you to give them your pay slip, as they call it in the UK. You have to give them your bank account, references, and so on. So the challenge starts from there. So the only way to survive is the money you brought from Nigeria. And remember, or wherever you are coming from, remember that you are living there having exhausted your savings. So you are landing here with limited fund. Then you came there, you have to pay rent, you have to do all these things. So the first challenge was, how do I start running? And where do I get this money from? So the first thing that happened was, after a few weeks, I started getting letters from the bank saying you are entitled to 4,000 credit. Wow, this country is so nice, 4,000. I quickly filled the form, I didn't even know. I mean, those are normal solicitations. So I filled the form and I was selecting 4,000 in my account so that I can just start spending. I waited for them, and in annoyance, I called them.
Mr. Femi, let me just interrupt you a little bit. Was this in the UK or in the US?
I'm starting with the UK, then I'll move to the US.
The UK.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got that, and it's like, oh, great, this is nice, 4,000. I quickly filled the form on the spot, submitted, believing 4,000 would land in my account. So after 1 week, I didn't hear from them. I called them in annoyance and saying, oh, why should you even offer me something if you know you're not going to give me? What do you mean? It's like, look at this man. People that have been here don't even have anything. You would think it's that way. I didn't know it was normal solicitation. Then I have to now sit back and start thinking, how do I survive? So my wife was able to get a job quickly. I decided that I wouldn't work anywhere except in my profession. So I had to spend more time developing my CV. I mean, they call it CV in the UK, they call it resume in the US, and getting ready to get to work. But the main challenge that I had was there was no credit from any source. And in this climate, if you don't have credit, you are almost as good as gone. Because in Africa or in the other countries, you are used to paying cash and doing everything transactionally. But here, the credit is the basic. So I didn't have one. And I now ask, what does this credit mean? Oh, they say you have to maintain an account for so length of time. And the mistake, again, I want to point this out. The big mistake you will make is when you come here and say, oh, I'm so sufficient, I don't want to take a loan, I don't want to take credit card. If you don't take a loan or credit card, then you don't have credit history. So one way or the other, they force you into having this credit card, because if you feel, oh, I've not borrowed money for them for 5 years, if I go there, they should give me money. No, they don't know you. So you have to start by getting a credit card. And what they do, normally there are some cards that are, I don't know, they call it cash credit card, where you have to maintain money in that account, and they will give you an equivalent of the credit card. They might just say you put $500 there, then they'll give you 500 credit. So it's back. So if you run away, they have your money. But with that credit card, they will start building your credit. Then you get a phone and you are paying your monthly direct debit. Then they will use all those payments you make monthly to build your credit. So it's very important and germane that when you come in, all those are parts you have to know. Because people will say, oh, don't borrow money from them, you don't into trouble. They just want to know how sensible you are with your finance on landing here. So that was the big challenge at the beginning of how to get those things.
So yes, we might as well address it right away. How are you able to overcome this challenge of credit, particularly when you came from a continent or a country that we didn't deal with credit? We prided ourselves in dealing in cash and all that. So how did you overcome it now with having no credit?
Okay, so that's why I said that my case was a bit different. So I was seeking for a corporate job. And because I had the relevant prerequisite qualifications, I was able to get a job in a corporate, the corporate world, And once you open your account, when they pay your salary in, first time, second time, and they see that the salary is regular, then you start having the opportunity to get credit card, overdraft, and so on. So as soon as that happened, they offered me one very small credit card, and that was the starting point. I had a job, so I could pay my bills starting with, then I had the initial credit card. So one of the things you will have to do is you have to stabilize your finance from day one. Make sure you open the account. Arriving in the country, whatever it takes, try to open an account because they don't know you. That's the thing. And there are so many things tied to this coming in. If you don't have, if in England, they call it national insurance, which is NI. In the US, they will call it social security number. Anything you want to do, they will ask you for those things. They will ask you for ID. So the only thing you could probably use when you are new is your international passport. So, but every other thing, they will ask for those things. And your objective as you are landing is, how am I going to get this? For instance, when my junior brother came to join me in the UK, because I had the knowledge, the day he came, he also had the papers, right? The day he came was the day I took him to the bank. The day I put his name on our domestic bills so that he will have evidence of the proof of address, all those things, because he had me. And why Christine and Vidal have set up this is for people to have this knowledge that when you come, you have to hit the ground running. And again, generally speaking, I will keep telling everybody, your attitude will determine your altitude. And when you come into these countries, the people you line up with will determine your trajectory. The people you line up with, if you come into this country and all the people you are living it, or living with, or you are moving with, if they are just security guards, the only job they will introduce you to is that security guard job. If they're into healthcare, maybe they are CNA, or in the UK, they call them HCA, they would let you believe that you can't get another job except that job, you know. So if they are taxi drivers, they'll be looking for how to get you a medallion for you to start driving taxi. So you really have to understand from day one. I mean, you might agree with them initially for you to stabilize, but you must know where you are going. And your objective must be very clear from day one. What have I come to do in this country? Did I just come to work for 2 or 3 years? Because most of us will come in here, oh, I'm going to stay for 5 years, I'll go back home. You are joking. You're going to stay for 15, 20 years, and you have not even made up your mind. You know, so that's one thing I want you to know, that from day one, you need to understand that what your objectives are and how you're going to accomplish them.
That is why we have this channel to help you as you come here, so that even before you come, you can start planning as you're watching this, you're, putting strategies in place so that when you come here, you hit the ground running, just as he said. So having said all this, now, what would you say was your first financial mistake once you arrived in the US, and what were the lessons you learned from it?
Now, again, following the fact that I got a job in a nice telecoms company in the internal audit, by the time they paid 2 months of my salary into that account, they offered me a 15,000 loan. Wow, 15,000 pounds loan. And they told me if I apply before 12 o'clock, the loan will be in my account by 2 o'clock. I click all the buttons and I went into my current account, its checking account in the US, and I found 15,000 pounds standing there. This is money, So the first thing I did was, how am I going to spend these 15,000 pounds? So I called somebody in Nigeria, I had a land, and it's like, oh, I have to build this house now. Because you don't know, you just feel the money, I have to build the house in Nigeria. I was not going to stay in the house. I didn't even know whether the money will complete the house. I didn't know anything. No. So the first thing was, I contacted, I said, okay, that house, please go there, buy cement, and I started. It's a big financial error. For you to think that money has come, and the only thing, you have never settled here, you don't even know where you are going, and you start sending money to somebody to build a house for you. I sent the money, and I sweated, because for like 4, 5, 6 years, I was paying almost 700 pounds per month to pay off that loan. So what I'm saying is that from day one, I hurt myself, because I didn't know. If I need anybody, or if there was a program or session like this, probably I would have learned you shouldn't do that. I did it, and it kind of affected me all the way, because as I now lived there, other expenses were coming up. And I discovered that my salary would not accommodate those expenses, because the amount of loan was being taken up front from the amount I was earning. So that was the big financial mistake I made. And I told myself, and soon after that, another bank sent me another one that you have 10,000 to take. So imagine you've not stayed 1 month, 6 months in a country, you have a loan of 50, almost 25,000. If I had taken everything, I would have probably gone down. So I'm just saying that there are some Greek gifts or offers that you get when you come here, by the way, if you have papers, that you really, really have to avoid. And how did I kind of overcome this? I started talking to my friends who have been in the country for like 15, 20, 25 years. And they told me many important things. And up to today, they are part of source of my information, because they have learned it. One guy told me, he said, look, this country, you might come, everything will look good. There might be jobs. If you come at the time when the economy is on the roll, or that is running, you might be getting 2, 3 job offers a day, and then you don't need to worry. And you will think it's like that. So you will incur many expenses, and here is direct debit. You just have them. They will just tell you, oh, this thing is sold for social amount. You can be paying $39, 99 cents or 99 pence. Oh, let me buy this. You have all of them coming into your account because you have a job. He told me that 3, 4, 5 years down the line, there might be economic recession. Yeah. And that job you got within a week, you might not get a job for 1 year. How will you survive? Yeah. I thought he was joking. When I came to the US and that happened, I discovered what it meant, because I had a contract, and the contract finished in December. I went to Africa thinking that when I came back in January, I would start another one. And I was at home for 6 months. The next contract was not coming. So how do you survive? So when you latch on those you've known already, and that's why this program is very good. So if you don't even know anybody and you're on this program, people will bring their various experiences, and you have to watch most of the series, because what I'm not saying here, somebody may have said it before, or somebody will come here after to say it. So you can't just listen to one person and follow, because your situation may be big. And the kind of personality we've been watching here have different background, different experiences, and that's why you have to follow this, because it's very, very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Femo. Is there any other way you were able to arm yourself with adequate information to be able to overcome this challenge?
The primary source are people that you know. People that you know that know. Not just people that you know. You might be living with people who are, and you want to be a doctor, maybe you're a doctor in Africa, you want to get certified here and be a doctor. You have to be looking for doctors to talk to. Don't talk to those people in your neighborhood or people that you feel are your brothers. You have to look for like mentors from the one who will be telling you what to do. So the primary source was those, my friends. They've been here for long. One told me, said, Femi, you know what? There was a time I bought 2 cars. I paid cash, 2 brand new cars. I paid cash on the same day. And that 2 years down the line, there was financial turmoil. And what happened? He was looking for a job for a whole year. He never got one. Wow. And he was a mechanical engineer. He was working for Ericsson. There was no country he had not traveled to. He ended up opening a mechanic workshop, an auto workshop. And for the next 20 years, he was a mechanic. He was a mechanical engineer. He was a mechanic for the next 20 years. So he was giving his experience to me that, look how rosy, that I was traveling business class, I was working with Ericsson, all the other companies were looking for me, and suddenly, nobody was looking for me. After 1 year, I had to open this mechanic workshop, and they had one nice auto workshop somewhere in California where all of us would meet and discuss. So I gained a lot from him. And he told me, look, Femi, if you come here, they will come with new cars. So if you want to buy new cars, just pay 2,000 and so on. So if you could still afford something lower to reduce your regular monthly payment, please do. These are things that you learn from people. So those were primary source of information. The secondary source is yourself. In this country, there's a plethora of information all over, but nobody will tell you. I can assure you, you might have a food bank next to you. You don't even know, because you just people coming there, you don't even know it's a food bank next to your house, and you could be hungry. So you have to look for local news. Even when you go to restaurants, get papers read, because there are so many local opportunities that you will not take advantage of. So you have to get information from your local resources, check everything that is so. So that's the personal information. And secondly, I mean, my case is a bit different because I had financial background, so I have a general idea. But when it comes to practice, that theory you are taught in school of how to do present value of money, all those don't come to play. You will be messed up. In fact, you'll be messed up more than those who did not know anything. So what I was always doing was, I was always going to the internet to ask questions. If I want to do this in America, in the UK, how does this happen? Before you even ask people questions about what you intend to do, check and have information so that when they give you their solution, you can ask them more questions. Don't go and ask them, because if you ask them first and you don't do what they told you to do, if you take another direction, they'll be annoyed with you. Because if you don't listen to advice, and they might not be giving you superior advice. So first, you have to recite the topic. Look, everywhere now there's internet. AI will even explain more than you need. Go to AI, ask the question, how do I do this in California? How do I do this in Texas? It will give you, then you can now go to people. They will tell you the experience. You can now come back. And so I use that source, going to websites, asking questions, and listening to TV talk shows on how to finance. And that was where I got this. And I believe it's still relevant till today, for you to listen and get information from these sources.
You need to be aware of what's going on in your locality. A lot of us, when we come here, we are busy listening to news from home. It took me a while. I wasn't listening to any of the news here. I was busy. Everything was about home. In fact, my children even started saying, Papa, it's like you have not left Nigeria, because my news was all about home and nothing about what was happening around me. And that's a big mistake a lot of people make, because you wouldn't know. You might miss something like Mr. Ojikutu has just told us. You might miss something powerful happening around you. So we need to focus also and be aware of our environment.
Know that when you come here, people think that you, in fact, you're picking dollars on the street, right? Like, and then they bring all their troubles, expecting you to solve all their problems for them. So how do you manage or balance supporting your family back home with your family here in the US?
Yes, I think that's very key. I watched one of your series, and I think it was Dr. Likita, and he was saying how he managed that with the wife, how they discuss and agree on the standard they have to follow. Now, the first thing again you should know is that your background and that of your wife will be different. Your wife will be the last born of her family. Nobody is asking her for money. In fact, she's still getting money from her brother. She's not using it to giving people money. But you are the first child, you are the first son, and you have 7 siblings. Your mother is there, your father is there. And you will feel, oh, all of them kind of sent me to school, I have to help them. Sometimes you feel like taking your salary and sending home, and you have your own kids and wife here. If you don't pay attention, you end up helping those people at home who will never agree you help them and hurting your kids and your family here. So the first thing is you have to put your family on the right trajectory. Make sure your children are going to the right school. Make sure that then when you want to help people at home, you must be very specific. It's not just sending money home, because they will tell you the stories of somebody is dying. And when you go home, you'll be surprised that the person that was supposed to be dying has a very beautiful home that is just finished completely. So what do? You have to be cognizant. And I tell people, the most important person for you to help back home are your parents. If you have parents, they're the most important, and all the religions say that you should take care of your parents. But the first people you should take care of is your nucleus or nuclear family. That's the first, because you owe them the obligation. You brought them overseas, they don't know Jack. You have to care for them, and then you think of, so how do I balance that? Yeah, it's a bit easy for me because I don't maintain a common bank account with my wife. Because if you maintain a common bank account with your wife, there's not, everything is denominated by money. If you take money, she will see it and it's like, oh, you sent money last month, you sent money this month, you are sending again. And sometimes it's difficult to explain because she doesn't really understand your situation. She doesn't know how bad. But because I have a separate account, what I did when we arrived was, okay, let's open a common family account so that I will put money there, you put money there, we use the money to run the family. So if, for instance, my salary is 1,000 per month, I will put, okay, in that account, I will put maybe 500, you put 300, we have 800. So from that account, she will run everything she wants to do in the family, for the kid, for herself, everybody. Then the money in my account, she doesn't see what that money is, right? And that is, I'm now able to do whatever I needed to do for people I wanted to do for. Neither would I understand what she's using her money for. But from time to time, you want to buy a house, you have to sit down and plan towards buying the house. How are we going to get the deposit and so on and so forth? But that could be very strategic. Otherwise, your wife might feel that you are not caring for the family you have there and you are caring for the ones at home. So that's how I kind of balance it. You make sure that your family here is well situated. Then you see how you can help. But it should be based on need, not just trying to help everybody. It should be very, very specific. And that's how I've dealt with that, making sure my family here is okay. Then whatever I can do to help, and it's always specific. You can't just tell me you are sick. What kind of sickness? Have you been to the hospital? Okay, let me talk to the doctor. Don't just send money to them. Then, okay, let me talk to the doctor. How much is it? You pay directly to the doctor, something like that. So I think I'm going too far, but I'm just saying that is how I try to balance and make sure that people at home will feel your impact, because generally they feel that once you come here, you are an ATM machine. That's what they believe. But after an ATM machine, you dispense fund, but you have to be sensible in the way you dispense the fund. So you can't ignore them, because we are all Africans. We are all from various ethnic countries, but you have to bear that in mind. And it's same all over, in India, in Pakistan, everywhere. We are family people. We are not individualistic.
Advice will you give? Because I know there are people here in the US, they do 2-3 jobs, they hardly sleep, and they send all their income, almost all, maybe 95% of their income they make and send back home. Maybe some of them have their own nuclear family back home, or their parents. And as you said, maybe they are the first child and they have siblings that are dependent on them, and they use almost all their income. They live on very little here. All the dollars they make go back home. What advice would you give to such people?
Now, based on my financial background, what happens is, if you have excess liquidity, you will likely have bad debt. When money is flowing around in your account, somebody calls you, Because you are a Christian, you are a Muslim, your conscience says, oh, this person is dying, you quickly dip your hand. Before you know, you finish the savings. So one of the ways is make sure you don't leave your money in liquid asset all the time. For instance, I get money now, I'll buy some shares, no matter how small. It's not easy for me to go and sell my share because somebody has a headache somewhere. So that is how to kind of keep something for yourself. And also, you have to have some standing commitments here that you can't run away from. You have to pay your rent. You open an account, maybe a savings account or kids account for your kids. Money has to go there first. So when you have those key and recurring expenditure, that is a way of saving your money before you even think of giving anybody any money somewhere. You bought a car, you have to pay for the car. But people here, they don't have a car and they'll be sending money home. Buy a car, you have to pay the fee note every month, pay and commit all your funds sensibly here so that the only thing you touch will be part of your savings. But most times, every money we make, so long we've paid the basic expenses, we are thinking of how to disburse that. That will hurt you. Because let me tell you, when you come into the country, you think, I'm going to spend 2 years or 3 years. You will spend 10, 15 years, you will not have savings at all. And you start getting closer to retirement and you become jittery. So that's why you need to start from day one and cultivate that habit.
Instances of people, like she was alluding to, that come here, they are just by themselves. So their entire family is back home in Africa. Either their children, their spouses, they are all back home. And so they're all here, all by themselves. And so they see that obligation and they're living substandard lives here and they are sending every dime they are making back home. In fact, I know somebody that I had to talk to this person before the person eventually even picked a car to be able to use to even go and earn that money. So these are some of the things that you probably, if you just take a minute to advise people in that category from there.
Yeah, because what happens if you have an emergency here and everything have been sending back home, then what?
Because they're using up everything they've got. When once it comes in, it's like it just comes in, it goes out.
Yeah.
It comes in, it goes to Africa. It comes in, it goes, and they're literally living on threadbare skin, literally, as it were.
Yeah, and you are very, very correct. I mean, in England those days, I mean, there were some buses that fly Southeast England, Peckham area, Camberwell. If you are on those buses, you will see Africans, mostly Nigerians, on their phones. Their conversation is, oh, I sent money last week and you finished this, you are calling me again. That almost practically everybody on that bus will be talking about money they sent home and somebody is mismanaging, you know, either their spouses or their uncles, brothers, and so on. And how do they manage such circumstances that you are here, you are not even living a good life to start with? And remember, in the profession that we're in, the financial professional space, you are your income. If you don't have a business, if anything happens to you, your income will stop. So those people you are desperate to help, if you fall sick now, that is the end to you and to them because you don't even have anybody to help you. Africa, in Africa, our social security is our community. Because in the morning, somebody will come and knock your door. You've not woken up. What are you doing? Here, nobody, it's only government, you know, in Africa. So that's our own social security, is the community, you know, that will help. So when you are here and you have your family back there, again, what is your objective? Do you just want to come and make money and go back home? Or are you planning to bring them here? All those things matter. If you are planning to make money and go back home, then you could be sending money home. Quickly, let me build that house. I want to come back in 5 years' time. But I can assure you, you think you go in 5 years' time, 15 years, you'll still be here. I've hardly seen anybody who promised himself will go back in 2 years or 4 years that went back. It's always longer. Sometimes they even rush back and they rush back again, you know, to the US because they will discover that things are not as expected. So when you have people there, your family, you must have a strategy. Are they coming over here? As you are making sure that they can sustain themselves over there, you must also ensure that in the US or wherever you are, you're also preparing for their arrival. Otherwise, when they arrive, you are just living in one room and you have 3 children and a wife. And that's when you know that, okay, in the house I'm staying, I'm sharing a flat or an apartment with somebody, you are paying maybe $600 per month. Now that your family is here, you have to pay $2,500. How do you do it? It will be a total change. You know, so you need to know from day one, what is my strategy? If it's your family, you have to know their needs, the important ones, and you try to meet those needs specifically. And you start planning on how and when you want them to come and join you. There are so many nuances to that, which you cannot be going through. But you have to be very clear. Otherwise, you keep doing it for 5, 10 years, and you'll still be there. They'll be over there, you'll be here, and they can't come here for whatever reason, and you keep sending money. You are not settled here, and they are not settled there. So you have to plan your strategy of what you really want to achieve. And again, we just feel that we're in the US, that the local currency are worthless, that you could just send money anyhow. You are still hurting yourself. You would think, oh, $100 doesn't mean anything. Okay, $100 will become 200. Before you know, you are broke, So you have to be circumspect when you are spending money at home and for here. And again, you have to protect yourself here. Some people are here, they will tell you they are immigrants, they don't even have health insurance. They don't have life insurance. They don't have any savings scheme. They don't have any stock. Everything is over there. If you fall ill here, like about 3 weeks ago, one of my cousins is an adjuster. They do this disaster adjustment. He fell down from the roof, and the first issue was that he did not. He's an adjuster. He's a licensed insurer, right? A licensed agent. He did not have health insurance.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's the first issue. The second issue is that where he worked, if there's any disaster, you'll be blacklisted. First, they will investigate how and why you fell down, because they have procedures on how to do all those jobs. So if, for instance, you are climbing the ladder, you're supposed to tie the ladder, do all these things. They want to know what happened. And if he did that, they'll blacklist him, won't get a job. So he fell down. He could not report it to his employer, and he didn't have health insurance. So he felt he could manage. He went home. He was having pains in the night. And what happened? They rushed him to ER. And they were just asking him questions. He was in pain. He called me. I mean, I didn't know that he called me. He called one of our friends. And that guy had to deposit $15,000 on the spot before they started treating him. $15,000. And they told him it was the deposit, that others will still be coming. If you are that person and don't have anybody, what do you do?
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's why you need to think, and your health insurance is very key. It might be very expensive. I know it's too expensive in England. I mean, it's free, right? Here it's expensive, but you will not know that it's not expensive until you fall sick.
Yeah.
Like one of my experiences, I'd like to share. When I came, I never knew anything like high blood pressure and whatever. So I wanted to do as soon as I landed here in the UK, I had life insurance. As soon as I came, I wanted to do one. So they came and the lady just said, oh, it's like you have an elevated blood pressure. I said, I didn't even know what blood pressure was. So I didn't even bother. So she left, and now they said they forgot something again. Another lady came and said, oh, it's just like your blood pressure is elevated. It didn't make any sense to me. So they now declined the policy. It's like, is it that serious? Then I went to my neighbor whose wife was a nurse, and he checked. He said, no, this is pretty high. So when the wife came back, he showed the result. The wife is a nurse. Said, no, you cannot sleep in this house this night. You have to go to ER. I was new. I didn't have any health insurance. I went to the ER. I stayed for like 2 hours, like from 10 to 12 or 11 to 1. They gave me one IV. Then they gave me one tablet, which was amlodipine or something like that. And I got a bill of $7,500. $7,000.
Yep.
In fact, I was thinking that maybe they made the mistake. They added the dates to the 7,500. I paid, but I negotiated, telling them I didn't have a job, and I still ended up paying 3,500. So I'm just telling you what experience you could have if you feel that you must take care of people at home and you're not securing yourself here. You can only help others if you have helped yourself. That's just my take on this.
That's a wonderful example you've given to us, Mr. Ojikutu. And since you've gone into that area now, this is the opportunity to educate our audience and tell them what strategies, saving or investing strategies that they could take to be able to secure those things that you've talked about, for them to be able to have a sound footing in case anything happens. Because the example you gave, as my wife was trying to say, I have had that example. The only thing that saved me was that it was that year that I got health insurance for the first time. I had been in this country for about 3-4 years at the time. We had been here for about 3-4 years without any health insurance at all.
And it just started with you feeling some
Yeah,
pain in the chest.
I was just feeling I was driving. I was just feeling some pain in the chest. I went to a walk-in clinic. That wasn't even what I went for.
Yeah, Walgreens
walk-in clinic.
For something
else. And I started feeling that pain. And immediately I mentioned it to the doctor that I'm having a. He said, "Oh no, I'm not going to touch you again. Nothing here. You are going to ER. From here, we are calling 911 for the ambulance. You are going to ER." Yeah. I said, "Hey, I drove myself down here. It's okay." He said, "No, I'm not touching you. You are calling ER them for you now to come pick you up." Then I assured him. I said, "Okay, I promise you I will go." So I drove myself to the ER. Of course, immediately I landed, once I said it was chest pain, they were all over me. Yeah. And then, to cut a long story short, I was there for about 5 hours. They did some tests and all that, gave me only 2 baby aspirin. 2 baby aspirin. That was all that entered my mouth. Then by the time I was walking away, you know the bill they gave me? 11,000 plus, almost 12,000.
But the woman that gave you the bill was trying to psych you up, trying to say maybe you should sit down or something before telling you the bill. But thank God, because we had that health insurance.
Yes, we just got that health insurance that year.
So you ended up paying how much?
But I still ended up paying about 3,000 plus. I still ended up paying about 3,000 plus from me. So that is just to tell us that it's penny wise, pound foolish. You might say, "Oh, I'm okay. Nothing is wrong with me. I won't fall sick or anything." And you don't bother to do these things that Mr. Ojikutu is telling you today. It is when it happens that you know. Learn from what we are sharing. We are just trying to help you so that you don't fall into the same mistake. So, in a few words, can you share with them what you think they could do in order to either invest or save something, put something aside for the rainy day, and how a new immigrant, those things we didn't know when we arrived, particularly from your financial professional background.
So thank you very much, Mr. Vidal and Christine. That question you asked, I think, is the most important question here, because we said everything, problem here and there. What's the solution? Yes. And when you get to the US and you start saving money, you'll be getting so many investment advice from your banks. You go there, you say, "Oh, come in, have your seat. We can give you free checkbook. We can give you this and that. We're going to open this account for you. Your kids can use it." They just tell you all those stories. And you open the account, you put your money there. That money will not grow, you know. You are still exposed, you are still vulnerable. If you have an accident, you are gone, you know. But the money is there. They are using the money to do business. So the question is, where do I get sound financial advice? If you want to get advice from these people, they will first look at your account. How much do you have that you are looking for advice? Once they see that you don't have money, they will not even talk to you. They are looking for people, they will say high net worth individual, HNI. Those are the people they are looking for to advise so that I can put their money. You don't have money, so why waste time with you? Because they are paid based on the fees they can charge you and you don't have. So, like I was here, I was in the financial services. I was the head of internal audit. And for many years, the strategy that you can use to help yourself, help your kids, help everybody in your community that you could use easily, I never knew. And I was in the bank telling people stories of how they can invest, how they can buy shares, how they can go into real estate. I never knew. By the time I got to know, and it was many years after, I got to understand more about what they call IUL, Index Universal Life. This is an insurance-based product. Unfortunately, for most of us from Africa or outside of the US, UK, and Europe, we don't want to hear insurance. Once you hear insurance is debt and you don't want it, and the only reason why we do insurance in those countries is because of probably car insurance, because it's mandatory. No other one. We don't care. And even some religions will even tell you that it's against the religion for you to have insurance, you know. But I'm telling you today, from my experience, which I've gathered training in one of the biggest audit firm, Deloitte, working in Silicon Valley, working in the bank, the best product, which I'm sure Vidal and Christine can also talk about if you contact them privately, is what they call Index Universal Life. That product trumps all other financial products that I've come across in terms of stability, safety, growth, and all the ancillary advantages that you will get. Now, quickly, in a minute, because I had just 1 minute to explain this. This is an insurance-based product. And remember that I was prospecting somebody yesterday. He didn't know. I was just talking generally. He said, these insurance companies, that do you know that they own all the solar energy farms in California? So he mentioned one insurance company. He said Hancock Insurance. I don't know. He said Hancock Insurance, that they are the owners of Hancock Energy. And Hancock Energy is the owner of so. So all those power plants, I mean, all those solar, they are the owners. This insurance company, even the banks go to them. They are the richest industry in any country. They have so much money. So there is no danger of you putting your money or your investment with them. But how simple it is. If you just have $50, $100 that you can be putting aside for yourself and your kids, you can always call a financial professional who is trained and licensed to talk to you how and where you put the money. And that's what Vidal does. That's what Christine does. That's what I do. They will tell you where you can put the money, and the money will protect you from that day. So if, for instance, you have a devastating stroke, or you have a heart attack, or all sorts of diseases, chronic, critical illness, terminal illness, from the day you open those accounts, you are protected. There is no other account that will do that for you. Even if you like, put 500,000 in your bank account. If you pass today, they will be talking of probate, how they will take their 50% or whatever percentage from me. In this account, that money is protected. Nobody's going to touch it. You are protected. You have life insurance with it. You can contribute any amount you want. You can take the money anytime. If you are owing people, they can't go after the. So there's so many advantages that I cannot elucidate at this time. But I'm just saying that one of the things, and this education I'm talking about, because that's what we do. We don't sell any of those products. We just educate our community. And it's part of that. What Christine and Vidal are doing here is part of that education, because the more we go into the community, the more we get worried. And I guess it's one of the reasons why Vidal and Christine say, no, what we are getting from these people don't know. You know, we need to go out there. And please, you have to share this video and let people see. You have to let them know, because you don't know. And the scripture says that where there's lack of knowledge, what happens to people? They perish. So it's very key that we understand all these things. So when you contact those who know, financial professionals, if you go to the bank, they're not even licensed to talk about this. So they might not even be hiding it, but they're not even licensed. So when you meet the likes of Christine and Vida, they will take you through this, and it's what can change your financial trajectory. I can assure you, if you start it for your kid, you can be sure that that kid is set up for life. And for yourself, you are set up for life. It helps your retirement. It helps your kids going to college. It protects your life, everything. I mean, it looks incredible that it's only when somebody sits you down, takes you through, that you understand what I'm saying. So that's what I would suggest. And that's where you can really get the knowledge. The education is free of charge. Nobody charges you anything to educate you on this. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like he has told you, these are things that tools that are right there before you, hidden in plain sight, hidden in plain sight. And the 5%ers in this country are taking advantage of these tools. And most of our folks don't know about them because we've been miseducated. And that's why here we are trying to re-educate you so that you see where you can latch onto what is there and use it to your own advantage, because it's there, it's meant for you. So like Mr. Femi has told you all, he's also a senior financial professional, licensed in the state of California and in several other states, just as we are. We are licensed in Texas and in several other states, including California. So these are things that we can share with you. And we want to encourage our people not to be wary of the word life insurance. When they hear it, as he said, they all think of death. Yes. Death will come whether we like it or not, but it's much more than death. This is a vehicle that you can use to build sustainable wealth, legitimately build your own bank. So I think my wife has one more question for you, but thank you very much. A couple more and we'll be done.
Yes.
Okay, so quickly, before Christine asks the question, I would just want to add that some of us have this primordial sentiment or religious sentiment. I'm a Muslim, insurance is not allowed. I'm a Christian. Please, if you know insurance is not allowed, in your religion, then you should not be in the US. Because you will take car insurance.
Yes.
You will take, except you don't have a house. And I met a cleric, oh, mortgage, this and that. I mean, that usury in Islam would be when you borrow or lend money and you take interest. So that it's not allowed. But the man was preaching, but he has a mortgage. The mosque where he was preaching from, they bought it with mortgage and they are paying interest. And he was now standing before on the pulpit and was telling them that they should not do life insurance. Even Saudi Air, their airline, you cannot fly all those aircraft if you don't have maybe Lloyd's insurance to cover them. They will not allow you to land in any country, even to fly. So it's hypocritical if you just say, oh, and what Islam is even saying and all these other religions is not about that you cannot. It's only that you cannot do anything about your life. God owns it. But you can do something for yourself if something happens to you. So if you're in the US, if you're a Muslim or Christian or whoever that believes that, then you shouldn't have health insurance either. Then meaning that you cannot live in this country. So all those things, if you listen to financial professionals, they will explain all those things to you. Why they don't, because people just don't do it. No, your religion does it. People have asked me, I like this, but do you think it's allowed? And I'll spend time, and you too, as a financial professional, you might have to do a research or some research to understand how this thing works and why it doesn't have anything to do with your religion. It's about security. It's like you saying, oh, don't save money for future, don't have pension because only God knows the future. No, you have to have, whether you're Muslim or Christian or anything. I just quickly added that so that you can put in perspective.
That was very timely and helpful too, to address those areas that our people are concerned about.
And even Jesus, he told the parable of the talents. When the person was given 5 talents, he said he went and put it and made more gain from it. And he said, thou good and faithful servant. So he commended him for doing that. And the one that just said, no, it will not gain any interest. So he just...
The one that hid it and buried it.
Jesus said, go away from me.
No unfaithful servant. Wicked and unfaithful servant.
So there's nothing wrong with, making interest from whatever money you have to grow it. It's not a sin. Anyway, well, we want to find out, like, coming from another continent, like, let's take a different direction now. Coming from a different country, I'm sure you have your own you would have noticed some cultural differences in financial practices here in the US. Can you share what you noticed most, like the cultural difference you noticed between here and where you were coming, your own home country?
Okay, thank you very much. That's a good question. Yeah, the way we spend money in Africa is right from here. I mean, in Africa, you spend money on family, friends, everything. In Africa, from the country I came, if you go to a restaurant with somebody, one person will pay for everybody. You just pay. If you invite somebody for an event, you have to feed and give them drinks. It was when I came here, I discovered that some parties you have to go with your drink or sometimes with your food.
Yes.
And I was working in an office, and we went out they say we are going to do team build, we are going for lunch or dinner. And we finished, they started sharing the bill that you are paying this. I said, what the hell? Where I came from, somebody is paying the bill. So all those kind of things were very, very surprising to me. But most importantly, the issue of credit is something that when we come here, we don't really understand. So if anybody comes here, the first thing I tell them that, look, go to Capital One or any of these banks, no matter how small, even if it's $100 credit card, because they can give you small one like 200 or 300. First thing, so that your name will enter the credit bureau and open an account also. No matter what, use whatever strategy you have, open an account, have a credit card. But because in Africa, some people tell you, oh, I'm afraid of credit. Then if you're afraid of credit, you can never buy a house in the US.
No.
You can never buy a house. You can hardly buy a car, or except you're buying very cheap second-hand, used vehicles, for $2,000-3,000. If you want to buy a car for that, why will you get the savings? So you have to imbibe that culture that it's not cash here. And even as Dr. Likita mentioned, he said, even if you want to be paying your cash, you have that power to negotiate. If you go into a store and you see, oh, this item is sold for $150, Yeah, it's not cast in stone. If you walk down to the manager and say, manager of a big, maybe Walmart, don't be surprised. You just go there and say, yeah, it's 150, but I have $100 cash here. What can you do for me? Let me call the manager. He's not calling anybody. He will say, okay, I can give you 30% discount. And you end up paying $100 for that $150 item. So if you want to be paying cash, make sure that you use the power of cash. Don't just be using cash to pay for credit card or something. When you go anywhere and people are using cash, I mean, you want to use cash. And sometimes if you go to, they will say, oh, if you pay cash, we'll take this amount. If you are using your credit card, we'll pay this amount. So all those things are very, very important. So the cultural difference is really about how we handle money and our view of money in Africa. Here you see somebody who is very rich, is just using the smallest phone, riding a bike. In Africa, that's not how we do. Even when we come here, we don't realize we're another country. We just want to show up, you want to buy the biggest car, even if you cannot feed yourself. You want people to say, oh, nobody cares in this country. Nobody cares. People care about your intrinsic value, not the extrinsic one, not the car you are riding. They don't want to know. Your boss can be coming to work on a bike. He's a millionaire. And you that are struggling from paycheck to paycheck, you went and bought a Tesla for 75,000. You are the one that will cry. So that's very key. When you come here, understand it's a different country. You have to build yourself financially. You can, if you are not financially sound in this country, one event, one disaster can put you flat. And the greatest cause of bankruptcy in this country is healthcare. If you fall sick, they will not mind to sell your house. I had a friend whose wife was put into bed and she had difficulties and the bill was $1.2 million.
Wow.
And they paid.
Wow.
Because they will tell you that the insurance will pay 80%. The co-pay is how much? 20%. So if you have $1 million bill, they will pay 800,000. You still have to cough out 200,000. Over $1 million. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
So supposing it's you, if you have a house and don't have the money, they will sell that house. So that's why it's very important. What we are saying here, what Christine and Vada are doing here, for me, I listen to it, I watch it time and again, because don't say I've been in this country for 30 years. What are they going to tell me? I've been in Europe and everywhere. I didn't know about IUL until now. So that tells you that a lot could be happening in your space that you do not know. Thank you.
So before we wrap up this afternoon and having this wonderful conversation, I'm sitting here. I don't feel like it should end, but every good thing that has a beginning has to have an ending. Mr. Femi, could you let our viewers know if they wanted to contact you, probably give them your phone number or email, because we know you are also a very senior financial professional. And this is a big country where people can also reach out and get to know, sit one-on-one as you have sat with them here today, to be able to tell them how to plan their lives.
Oh, thank you very much. That's a good one for me, Mr. Vidal. Yeah, I'll give you my phone number, which I live in California, but in this business, and the world is a small village. Now, where you live has no relevance to how you can help people. I'm right now in California. Pastor Vidal and Christian are somewhere in Texas with 2 hours time difference, but we are talking. So you can reach out to anybody through Zoom or whatever electronic medium or media that you want to use. My phone number, I'm in California. My phone number is 510-303-7254. I don't need to repeat. You can just repeat the recording to see what I said. Yeah. So and my email address is my first name, last name at yahoo.com, which is Olufemi, Olufemi, Ojikutu, OJI, all together, OJIKUTU at yahoo.com. You can reach me on that, and you can reach me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and with the same name, And if you contact Christine and Vida, you want to reach me, because they're always here anyway. We will go there here. You can always get across to me. So that is very key. And also remember that just like Christine and Vida, we are licensed in so many states. So it's in California or is in Texas? No. Vida does business in Pennsylvania, everywhere, in California. So you can reach out and we will advise, educate you on the specific trajectory that will help your family. And to be demonstrated. It's not just talking. There will be figures, facts and figures to support whatever that you'll be advised to do. And they will also give you time to make up your mind. So it's not hard to say that you have to take decision now. No, they will explain to you, we do whatever I need to do. You talk to your husband, your spouse, your wife, and come back. So you can contact me through those means. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. I've so much enjoyed this session with you because you're so down to earth and all the stories you've shared with us. But before we go, we'd like to hear your view. Like, how do you think platforms like Cash Talk, Financial Conversations for Immigrants, can make a difference in the lives of immigrants that are here or in other continents, and what advice will you give to them to make the most of the resources we provide here?
Yeah, this is a hard one. You know, before we used to say people don't want to read, even people don't want to watch. People want video of 1 minute or 2 minutes that will be funny, and their skits, they are gone. If they see any educational video, like before we started this session, I was reading something about aspirin, how and why you should or should not take aspirin. When I opened it, it was 31 minutes. I felt like dropping it. But I now told myself, I need this knowledge. So I had to wait for 31 minutes. Many people will not do that. They will just go. You know, so when you have sessions like this, people don't want to listen. And the only way is to kind of attract them to listen to it because it's very, very helpful to them. So what we can do, somebody like me, anytime I get information, because I'm subscribed to this channel, I will advise you to subscribe, to like, to do all those things, is as soon as I get it, I send to all my contacts. And I even call them that, please listen and watch this. That's the only way we can help ourselves. Where there is lack of knowledge, people perish. This is, you should be charging for this program. You should be charging people. People should be paying, but it's coming free. And you are getting it free, and we're not even ready to listen. So what we should keep doing is just keep sharing, telling people, and people come. When I talk to them, I also say, please watch this video. Please watch this series, join this series. And I will remind them when it's coming up, and I will make them like and share the video and subscribe. And that would be very helpful. You know, there are so many junks going on the social media space that even you have maybe 10 videos and you don't even know which one to watch. But you have to be selective, and we will not stop, because what we are doing in this space is basically financial evangelism, financial crusade. We cannot stop. Otherwise, when your neighbor is hot, they will tell you that there's GoFundMe. You have to go and contribute money. And sometimes in your mind, I have one of our colleagues, financial professional. I spoke to her yesterday. I said, your voice is, I said, yes, that my friend passed. I said, when? I said 2 days ago, that she was very sad. I said, why? I said, I told her to do a life insurance about 1 month ago, and she said she will get back to me. And she passed yesterday. I said, she might say, yes, she's married and she has 2 kids, 2 in Nigeria and 2 here. If you know what trauma that will be to that family, because I mean, you lost somebody, that is enough loss, and you don't even have money to support yourself. It's another thing. So we cannot delay. This knowledge is very, very key. We should be seeking for it, but now Christian and Vidal are chasing us with good information. So we should appreciate them.
Well, you've all heard it. You want to like, you want to subscribe, share it with others so that people will not make the same mistakes you and I made when we came to this country.